that was not what my job is. I believe we train people not to take on new challenges. Why? Because when they get burned, because they took on a new challenge and it didn't work, what they want to do is things that are defined. Tell me what my job is so I can be successful. If somebody is given a challenge and it doesn't work, how many of you agree? New things occasionally don't work. Are you ready to support people? I had a gentleman come up to me at one of my own programs, and I loved it. He came up to me and he says, what you talked about was my first woman that I reported to. She was the first boss that I had. And I was in an IT department, and on the second week on the job, I took our computer system down. How many of you have had tough moments on your computer? This guy's in an IT area, and all of a sudden, oh, shit. He knew he was in trouble. He tried to get it going. He heard things coming out of other cubicles that was not constructive. He immediately went to his boss and said, I think I've made a big mistake. She said, I'm sure it's not as big as you think it is. And he said, I think it's bigger. At that moment, her eyes got big because she reported to a yeller. How many of you have had to deal with yellers in your lifetime? I mean, they're yelling. And all of a sudden, what ended up happening is, in the midst of getting information, her boss comes in low brain function. He is subcortical back here in the reptilian area. And he's and he's yelling at the woman. The guy who made the mistake is in the room. He watches. He's only been in his job 2 weeks. What's he thinking? Oh. He said the only positive thought he had was, at least my resume is current. I won't even have to say I've been in this job. At the end of 15 minutes of being yelled at, not once during that 15 minutes did the woman even mention his name. How many of you breathe? That would have been tempting. All she would have had to say was, there he is. He's defective, take him. Never liked him in the first place. She took the entire heat of that conversation. At the end of 15 minutes, the big cheese said, this should never have happened. And I loved her response. It did, and I take full responsibility for it. This is my area of responsibility, and every minute we're spending here is time we're not getting that system back up. He just stared at her and just looked at her and said, get it done, and left the room. Now he's alone with her. His previous experience is that pain goes downhill, increasing speed and severity. He was expected to be yelled at. The woman did not look at him, just closed her eyes. Took a couple of deep breaths. Then a smile formed on her lips, and she opened her eyes and looked over at him and said, don't do that again. The guy said, I almost peed. I'd been in there a long time. He said, what did you say? I said, I'll never do that again. She said, I don't think you will. I think you'll remember this for as long as you live. And at that moment, he just said, I will. I'm sorry. He said, look, we may not have communicated. We have had some problems with that. We've made some proprietary changes to it, and we may not have made you aware of all of them. But I got to say to you, second week on the job where something could have meant your job, you had the guts to come in here and take responsibility for that. You're the kind of person I want working for me. And I'm going to need your help to get this thing back online. What do you think that man's level of commitment would be to her boss? He showed me his business card. I couldn't see anything. I said, what am I supposed to see? He said, I'm glad you can't, because every day in the white space, I write it in invisible ink. Slave. I would do anything for her. She stood up for me. This is a time you stand up for your people. This is a time when you get flack coming, well, how come we're not getting results? If you know they're working hard to do the kinds of things and it's heroic efforts, you stand up for them because it's your responsibility whether you delegate it or not.